All right, fellas. So today I'm going to talk about stocks. Uh, well, we know that stocks right now is a huge topic when it comes to the tariffs, when it comes to S&P, the Dow Jones, etc. So first, I want to start with a little background in my experience with stocks, what I'm invested in. I guess soon I will show and disclose how much and how the relationship has been between the events that has happened since I started investing and up until now. And of course, what I have been doing in my own portfolio, and open to share with the community here to see, just to be, just to encourage, just to encourage those who are not heavily invested, who are hesitating to invest, etc. So I'm gonna start talking about that right now. So I started investing back when the pandemic hit. So this is back in 2020. Um, we saw that the S&P was down. We saw that stocks pretty much went down for a sale, and I wasn't invested yet. And this was around the time where Bitcoin and Dogecoin was a thing, where it was popular. Went from pennies on a dollar to, well, what, 30, 50 cent max for each share. I don't really remember what was going on at the time. All I knew was, hey, I think this is a good time to start investing, for one reason only. The S&P was low, stocks were on sale. I thought this was a good time for me to start to get invested, to see what's the big deal, right? Yeah. So I started with $100 at the time, and I bought and part of an S&P, right? And there were moments where it went up and down, and I lost $100. Or sorry, the value of the stock went below $100. So that turned into a loss. But I never sold. I always knew that if I'm going to do this, it's going to be for the long term. A lot of videos where it's always about time in the market, not time in the market, where you get to see steady but insured rate of return. And I think after 5 years of being invested in the stock market, I've definitely seen that. And this is after the stock's going down a lot because of the tariffs, right? I'm still up because I've spent a lot of time investing conservatively, knowing, making cognizant decisions on about where I put my money in, right? And I'm glad to say that despite the huge down here, I'm glad to say that despite the huge downhill of the stocks, I'm still up. I'm still up by, well, I think 10% when it used to be 30%. Right before the tariffs hit, and pretty much put downward pressure on the stocks. And when the stocks were down, I did decide to put more money into the stock market. I saw it as an opportunity to buy more, and that's what I did. And when the president delayed tariffs on everybody else besides China for about 90 days, stocks increased, and guess what? Whatever I bought increased in value too. Uh, the reason why I even decided to purchase more was because the last time stocks were down, from what I remember, and I was really regretful at this time. When the bank in Silicon Valley filed for bankruptcy, that's when the financial stocks hit the ground too. Like I'm talking about Chase, Capital One, American Express. Those stocks were on sale, and I decided to not buy. And ever since then was when I decided that, hey, like, despite what's going on, I'm gonna continue investing. I don't dollar cost average. I don't do that. I just invest a good amount every now and then, perhaps once a month at the very minimum. Um, Perhaps I should start investing a little bit more, be a bit more uh, cognizant and more deliberate, and to balance that out, perhaps like uh, a little bit less, uh, maybe each week or two, instead of just waiting a whole month, right? Because a lot can happen in a month. But yeah, uh, so in conclusion, I want to say that overall my experience in the stock market has been very positive. Don't get me wrong. I've also worried about the value of the stocks decreasing. I've also seen uh, my portfolio being in red, but I've also seen good returns in my portfolio overall for the majority of my time in the stock market has been green. I'm proud to say that before that everything hit, my and I'm talking about the tariffs, my portfolio was 20% in the green, and now it's about. I have to check again, but I think it's still a little bit north of 10%, which is fine by me. I don't plan to sell. I do plan to reinvest the dividends. I do plan to keep investing despite what's going on, and just ride the wave. Whatever money I'm tossing into the stock market is money that I really don't need, and I would rather have that money work hard in the stock market as opposed to sitting in a high yield savings and being outpaced by inflation. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience in the stock market. I do want to share, let's say, like 3 tips on, for those who aren't heavily as invested or hesitating to invest. So the first tip is essentially to get started. I started with $100 at the time. At the time when. So, but the first tip is, I start small. I've started with $100 at the time back in 2020, and I made an effort to not sell, and I had that that type of just emotional feelings, right? Like, hey, like if my $100 turns to 80 and 60, and this is not good, then what am I doing? If I just sell, but I never sold. I instead kept investing tiny amounts to $20, $30. Nothing big to write home about. But the point is to keep the money and to keep the money invested and pretty much forget about it. I know everybody here has a life that they need to tend to. Let that soak up. Let that soak up your time. Don't worry about your portfolio as much as some other people are really paranoid about it. Keep your money invested. It's all about time in the market, not time in the market. Just make sure that whatever you're buying is of quality stocks. If stocks there are, make sure what you're buying is stocks that have a proven track record, like the S&P, and of course other single stocks that you may look into if you're curious about it. I do have a few stocks that have proven to be recession proof, that have proven to be they're proven to hold their value. There are certain stocks that I know that I have bought and I am holding right now that have proven to hold their value despite whatever's happening in the economy and in politics. So I think in a future video I can share that. I can share those stocks with you guys, those single stocks with you guys, if I get a lot of inquiry of it. And the first tip again was, just get started with something small. The second tip would be definitely time in the market. So if you're hesitating, please start now. I use Public as my taxable brokerage account. I'm very pleased with the service and the type of UI that the app provides. I do have Robinhood too, but I'm not liking the way the app is formatted. I'm thinking about pulling all of my investments from Robinhood that I have in the IRA to Public's IRA. Recently launched an RA account with 1% matching. And the third tip would be, well, this is pretty debatable. My experience is that whenever there's stocks that have gone down in value, I look at it as a fire sale. So if the stock was worth 300 and it went down to 270, 250, I'll go ahead and buy. I would go ahead and buy. It also depends how much money you have saved, right? How much money you are willing to invest and not see pretty much ever again until you sell. So, and that's something that you guys should definitely keep in mind. Please use the money that you have laying around, or please use the money that you have extra that you wouldn't necessarily need. Please have please have your savings account, please have your emergency fund, and whatever is left over that you feel comfortable investing, go ahead and invest it in. And those are 3 tips that I want to share with you guys. And overall, I'm thinking that I wish that more people are more deliberate with their money, investing it in the stock market as opposed to, I guess, whatever pleases them, right, in the short term. I would argue that the stock market is definitely for the long term. It's definitely a test in well, and it's definitely a test in both patience and in self control. Because it wouldn't make sense to sell an unrealized loss. It always makes sense to buy when the stock is low. And that's another thing that we should keep in mind. When the portfolio is low, you're at a loss, but you don't lock it in. You don't. When the portfolio is low or is in the red, it's definitely lost. But you only lock it in and realize that loss or take that hit when you sell. Right, so even if the portfolio is low, don't worry about it. You can always buy more, or just write it out. You can always just write it out, and wait until the stocks go up. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience in the stock market. How much time I've been invested in, what I bought in, how I deal with self control when it comes to the fluctuations of the stock market, and also about 3 tips that I want to share with you guys. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment. I'll be sure to reply to whoever replies in I'll be sure to reply to any comments that I see down in the description. Alright then, fellas, later.